would like to thank you all and welcome you to the Medina Township Trustees Special Meeting, August 17th, 2023. The time is 5:01. Roll call.
Mr. Eastwood?
Here.
Mr. Christopher?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here. Got caught off guard there for a second. You've joined me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Join me in a moment of silence for our first responders at home and abroad. Thank you. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones and refrain from talking during the actual meeting. There's a recording in progress during the meetings, and the microphones pick up everything. Please save your comments for the public comment portion of the meeting. And if you do wish to make a public comment, please be sure to sign in. It's a sign sheet provided at the door. This will make it easier for our admin department to produce the minutes properly. Let's start off, I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 08172023-114 to approve the payroll dated 8/18/2023. Total amount $42,562.56. The total remaining deductions, withholdings, and liabilities of $9,048.35, and incorporate this two-page document as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Before, sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So, there are a couple things with this, and I don't know how you wanna handle this. So first and foremost, there were 2 employees on this bi-weekly payroll, one of which had, more than the 3 consecutive days off for sick time, but we don't have a sick note for the employee. So, I know Chief Minnick was working on getting that, but we don't have that yet. So that's something to deal with, cause that is our policy and it's in the contract. There was another employee who had a doctor's note. This employee worked the 80 hours. However, the doctor's note as of August 9th said that they could not work until September 3rd, and they were on payroll after that. So that is problematic. So Chief Minnick was trying to get a note that said that they could work with restricted duties, but we don't have that. So again, another issue for the township. So those 2 things, and we can come back to that in a second, so I'm just gonna throw everything at you at once. There also, payroll was approved with, and this was something I sent back the last time, if you remember, Chuck and Chief, the field training officer pay for the 3 officers who trained the new hire.
Right, it was submitted as payroll.
Correct, it was submitted as payroll this time. However, the hours didn't add up to the totals. So if you read the second and third pages of the breakdowns, the hours were shorted. So I didn't process that because we have to have it match.
And did you call the chief on it?
I didn't, because I didn't have time. This was just I caught it today, this is the second time I've sent it back, and we gotta get this right. I can't have this we can't be shorting
No, I agree.
payroll, so, and I don't really understand.
The last concern on the last pay period wasn't that it was shorted, it was that
Turned
he had
it-
turned it in directly.
correctly,
And so
correct.
we changed that
Right.
to this, and then again,
And this is turned in a little differently than I've seen before, just to let you know, did you look at it when you approved it?
well, we sit there in the office, and he shows me, goes, this is the this is our training things and everything else like that. I'm not cross-referencing every dot and minute, but I
No,
saw
I'm
that
just,
they were.
are you
I
familiar
saw-
with what I'm talking about? I just
Yes,
wanna- okay.
we're familiar, because we sit there every Sunday going over everything that he's turning into.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, the part of it was, the way it was turned in is the actual shift itself. So just for instance, a 6A to 4P, it was, listed that way. And then some of the hours were then just plus 2.5, so it was like, when you went through, you had to add
Yeah,
the
everything else.
shifts plus the hours, so, and then, like I said, they didn't add up.
How far are they off?
The one was off, I don't have the numbers offhand, but like one, they broke it up by weeks. One was off by like 3, the next one was off by, I think, 5. It was off, I mean, it was.
Three tenths?
No, like 3 hours, then 5
No,
hours,
that's why I
5.
wanted clarification.
Yeah, you got, so,
Yeah, if it's
I
wrong,
had-
then just turn it back into the sheet,
Yeah.
and he'll do the math correctly.
but I'm
and
telling
then-
you, it's not, so that's why it's not on this payroll.
All right, that's completely fine.
So-
I mean, it's-
That's just the training you're talking about?
Just the, right, so
Right.
forever, like, and the only one, there was one officer who only had 20 hours, so his was right, but everybody, the 2 officers who did field training, Officer
The
Nicholson and
actual-
Officer Miltner, and then the officer who was trained, because he gets that shift differential for being assigned to that shift, his was also incorrect because it mirrored these shifts.
2 people.
So he was also not paid, so because we pay these all at once, so I wasn't gonna pay one officer and not the others,
Alright, just-
so,
We'll turn it into the chief, and I'll have him and the lieutenant review it before it gets turned back in.
yeah, like I said, it is a time consuming process to do this, so
Right,
I
now,
just ask that they.
I don't go in there, I don't go and add up every hour, I go in there and see that they worked training and that this sheet was turned into, so.
Yeah, but somebody's gotta be adding up the
Yeah,
hours, so.
I'm pretty sure.
At the end of the day, these will be done on the next pay cycle? Is
Yeah,
that
we-
the plan?
Well,
is?
if somebody needs to add these up,
Yeah.
so.
But we're not gonna do it in this pay cycle.
No.
We wouldn't do it in interim, correct?
No,
So it
No,
will be
right.
done in the next pay
yeah,
cycle.
so, I just asked that somebody checks these,
Yeah.
so that.
And that's
they
fine.
get
That's
that
what he
to you.
said.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So going back to the doctor's notes, because we do have,
Well, one, we know had a baby,
correct,
so that one, I didn't think we needed a note to say that they had a baby, because that usually turned in the paperwork that they had a baby.
contractually, we have to have a note in the file, is what I'm saying. I mean, it's knowledge of it and, I mean, common sense, yes, you know that, but again, you have to remember when there's
Even
an
our last
audit.
pay period, she would have been out for more than 3 days.
I think she used vacation time last year, I believe, you'd have to go back and check, but.
Well, it's not, it won't be a problem, but,
Yeah, and then the other, but I'm just saying, we just have to follow our own rules, is kind of.
Are they being paid this pay period?
They're on there, yeah, I
Okay,
just wanna know what
okay, I
you
just
wanna
wanted to make
do
sure.
about,
I
because,
just wanna make sure that they're paid.
I think that we just, to stay within the policy, that we're gonna approve payroll, even though we know this isn't,
and we know that
In place.
the doctor's
when,
notes will be
yeah,
there.
and we will get that taken care of. When do you think we can have those?
Well, as soon as I can get a hold of Hallie.
Okay, within the next,
And the one with Sergeant Mangel is their doctor was supposed to put like duty on there, and that's where the discrepancy came on that one. So I should have that hopefully by Monday.
okay. I feel that we ought to approve the payroll with the understanding that both of those doctor slips / corrections will be made within the next week.
We can,
Do you want me to make a motion to that regard for any reason?
I think it's on the record,
It's on the
so,
record,
yeah,
so.
that's,
All right. Anything else?
there, I have an update with the workers' comp, are we gonna get to that later? I don't know, you have an executive session, I'm not sure if that's what that's about, or do you wanna just go over that now?
Let's go for it now.
Okay.
Workers' comp.
So,
And we do roll call
Oh.
for payroll.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's what I was trying to do, let's
Thanks.
close that part out.
Yes, roll call.
Mr. Eastwood,
Aye,
Mr. Christopher,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
thank you, Chris.
so I can't make workers' comp move more quickly than they're going to, that's just, you
That's
know, it's a
understood.
process. I believe there's perhaps 1.5 checks left, maybe two, for the employee that's retiring, right? That being said, and because they're not actual going, there's no hours worked at this point. The board's going to have to decide what you wanna do in regards to those checks. Because contractually, the employee has to also endorse the check over from workers' comp to the township. I talked to Chief Minnick about this earlier this week. The resolution was, that was passed last meeting was a bit vague as far as it, talking about inclusion of hours, but it didn't really say what you're doing with the hours, like if you're paying. This is a little unorthodox with paying out the hours instead of just, just doing a lump sum payout, as far as like paying them out on a weekly basis, so, but what I'm getting at is, generally, if there's anything that a town, an employee owes the township, we don't release final pay until until the employee has made good on what they owe the township, so I don't, that's something to think about if you wanna, because these are now technically payouts on accruals.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to hold back on those payouts until the workers' comp situation is rectified? Because the thing is the employee has had plenty of time to respond to workers' comp. There, part of this was because he gave a number that was not correct and then didn't
Yeah.
answer the emails or the letters, so.
So we're talking about in the next pay cycle, whether that would be released to him or whether that would be held
Correct.
in conjunction with him to sign over the other pay.
Right, because there's going to be that pay cycle, and then I believe, I don't have the numbers right here, but I think there's gonna be maybe a little bit of, a few more hours left to cash in, but not much, so, but it's, not enough, not nearly enough to cover the amount that we would be recouping from workers' comp. And the thing is even though he has signed that waiver, he will still have to also endorse the check once the township, both the township and the employee endorses the check. So that's, once the employee's gone, sometimes they're hard to track down, so that will be something that,
Doesn't BWC send that check to Medina Township? And
they
that's-
do, but both have to, both the township and the employee has to endorse the check. That's how the salary reimbursement works, that's the only way that can be done. And that's contractual, that's part of the bargaining unit contract, so that's what we have to do.
Well, it sounds like something that we probably ought to run by legal and get their advice on. I understand what I think I hear you saying, and I think that part of that, like you say, you can't make workers' comp pay, but they're not gonna not pay. And once they do pay, I think we would wanna maybe see, we're gonna have to figure out a way to, like you said, that signature's important from him, so
Yeah,
I,
Yeah, I just wanna get some cooperation out there and closure,
right,
let's get it closed.
so. I don't think there's anything we have to act on today,
no, but I,
to be aware of it.
yeah,
Thank you, and I think we'll, like I said, we'll talk to, I made a note here to talk to legal about that.
We even have them contact workman's comp,
That would be the thing.
push them a little bit, or just
Yeah.
get the closure.
So, can you, and I think you may have already, but can you forward, or to get it to Chrissy, the contact information for workers' comp that we could give them to legal?
I can, there's several different people, that are dealing with different
You don't
moving
need it
parts
now.
of this, so.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, just put a little kind of summary on some contacts. that'll give them something to work with.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We got through that, right?
Yes, okay. That's right.
I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss employment of a public employee.
Second.
And we will take the 3 trustees. Do we need anyone else for this particular round?
You good with the times?
And the time is 5:16. Roll call.
Mr. Eastwood?
Aye.
Mr. Christopher?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
We're going into executive session. It's 5:16.